Welcome back to NC Bass, and today we're going to do the top 5 lures of 2018. It's been a pretty good year. Caught a lot of fish, done a lot more lake fishing than I used to do instead of just ponds. I caught all the big fish out of ponds. I really couldn't catch big fish out of Lake Norman. Caught a couple over 4, but it was tough. And I'm having trouble even catching fish out here. I'm trying to catch a crappie or something, but hopefully the next pond I can catch something. But today we're going to do the top 5 lures. And number 5 for me this year it's the spinnerbait. Early in the year, the spinnerbait really done good. War Eagle is definitely my favorite. It's a 1/2 ounce, but I like like a 3/8, but the big these are willow blades. But early in the year, you want the Colorado blade. That's just the best. The one I had was actually I caught the 2 over 7 pounds where it had a hammered blade, and it was a nickel spinnerbait that I actually found at Lake Norman. I've got to get another one of those. That bait did really good for me this year. Slow rolling it early in the year is usually a lot of rain. Like right now we've had a lot of rain. You want to throw a spinnerbait, or a chatterbait does well too, but I have a little more confidence in a spinnerbait. Just slow roll them, hitting it off cover. I like to throw a spinnerbait in wood. When I'm around rocks, I want to throw a crankbait. In the wood, I want to throw spinnerbaits. Bouncing off that cover, they just can't stand it. That's how you catch them. That's what I do, guys. That's a good way to get them. And that's lure number 5. Number 4 for me this year, this bait right here, Spro Little John. Last 2017 November, or the very end of November, I caught a 7.5 pounder on this thing. This exact same bait I actually found at Lake Norman floating on the water. This thing has been scraped up. I caught 40 fish at that pond in one day. I probably caught like over 200 fish on this one bait. It's seen better days. The bill's a little cracked. It's making me nervous, but I've got to pick up another one. I had the chartreuse black one. This little bait, I never caught any giants on it, but this bait always produced. If I found some riprap on a point, I was throwing this bait all year. I was catching fish from early pre-spawn to late fall on this thing, shad spawn. I killed them on this thing in the shad spawn. This little bait will get bit. It's got tungsten weight in it. Spro Little John, it does very good. I actually caught my biggest fish in the big bass tournament on it. That's why I'm going with this as the number 4 bait. It was a 2.98 spot. Barely didn't get me a check in that tournament. If I'd have waited in earlier, I could have got a check. But this bait only catch giants, but it did catch a 7.5 pounder. It definitely catches numbers. I like this bait. You want to throw it on a medium action rod and a lower speed reel, like a 6.3 is what I throw it on. And 12-pound fluorocarbon is what I use for it. So that's my setup for that bait. I caught a lot. Numbers wise, that bait was right up there with them. Numbers wise, I've decided not to put this on there because I never caught any big fish on it, but a shaky head, stand up head, spot remover with a chartreuse tip tail. My buddy John showed me that. I mean, the chartreuse tip got bit way more than just regular green pumpkin. Trick worm. This bait catches fish at Lake Norman all the time. You catch little guys, decent fish. I just never caught a big fish on it this year, but that bait will get you bit. I didn't put it in top 5 because I never caught anything big on it. And number 3, another crankbait. This bait early in the year got me bit was the Bomber Model A, the red crawl. I don't have that exact bait. I've lost 2 of them now. Last time I got caught on somebody's braid and broke the line right when I seen it and went underwater. I couldn't get it. I've lost 2 this year. And I usually just replace baits. I don't buy a bunch of baits. I don't have a ton of tackle like a lot of these fishermen. I just get what I know works, and when I lose it, I pick up another one. I'm gonna have to pick up another red crawl. This is a Bomber Model A 4A. I like the 6A. That's what I was catching them on. This is a little bit bigger than this. This one's a little bit harder to throw. None of them are very easy to throw. It's more like a rock crawler. It's been killing on Norman. It's probably even better. This thing goes 6 to 8 foot, and you can see I caught my PB spot on it early in the year. And any crawl crank's gonna kill early in the year. That's what I was catching them on. And I also caught my biggest largemouth, my largemouth PB out of Lake Norman at the same time. Also on this Bomber Model A. It's a cheap little crankbait too. It's not very expensive. I need to get a rock crawler. I like Spro. I'm going to have to pick one up. They're a little more expensive and they probably work better. Everybody's been saying wiggle warts. It's some lakes it works on, some lakes it don't. But it seems like the rock crawler is what everybody's saying is working on Lake Norman. But anything with chartreuse in that muddy water, I just like the red top, a little bit. I really like chartreuse when it's muddy though. And pre-spawn it's going to be muddy. Well, after that you want to start matching to shad, but a crawl crank early in the year is going to catch. And fish just for some reason pre-spawn that bright red chartreuse, some kind of bright color, just gets on their nerves. A lot of people swear by bright red. I like the red and chartreuse on them. And you can see from the videos I was catching nice ones on the red crawl crank. And that's number 3. for the year. I done well on it. I'm going to pick up another one for this pre-spawn coming up. Number 2 this year for me. Never caught some giants, but I caught a few over 3 on it. Always just one of my, it's my favorite bait. Nah, maybe my second favorite bait. Nothing huge on it though. It definitely, last year was my, 2017, it was definitely my favorite bait. The Whopper plopper. Nothing funner than topwater bites. I live for topwater bites. I mean, I'd rather catch 1 on a topwater than 5 on the shaky head. The 110, everybody swears by that size. I'm gonna have to try the 75, but on Lake Norman, I just didn't really get bit on this. I caught a few pond fish, but I didn't even catch 10 fish on this year probably. I probably caught over 50 on just this one. Blue blood is my favorite color. This thing just gets bit for whatever reason. The spots seem to like the chartreuse, and I definitely caught quite a few on the I know it color, the shad colored bait. But this one seemed to get bit. It's a little bit translucent, but it's also dark enough for early in the morning. And usually I'm throwing topwaters as low light conditions. I like a black, but this is good at nighttime. This thing, I just pulled a few fish off on it, and the spots like this come up and ram it, so I would miss them on the big bait. The little 90 at Lake Norman got me bit. If you guys don't have a Whopper plopper, you've got to get one. I love a buzzbait. My PB came on a buzzbait. I've caught some huge fish on a buzzbait, but you cannot beat a Whopper plopper. I mean, nothing better than watching a fish come up and blow it up. The 90 just hits the water a little bit softer. The 110 just hits the water real hard. I think it worked really good at nighttime, but I didn't fish much at nighttime. This 90, people say it's hard to get the propeller going, but if you get your rod tip in the air on braid, or I like to have a mono leader though. If you throw straight braid, you'll miss it. But just get your rod up in the air, use a longer rod and get long casts. This thing will get hammered. I'm telling you, some days you couldn't catch them on anything but this. I caught a bunch on the walking bait also, but never anything big, and it's funner when you just, this thing's propelling through the water and boom. I caught some good ones on the walking bait, but the Whopper plopper is by far my favorite. I mean, this thing just gets bit. If you don't have one, 90 is my favorite size, and a lot of people don't like it, but I'm telling you, it gets bit, and you'll catch numbers and you'll catch some size on it. For some reason, when I catch a big fish, most of the time they're on top water, I'm telling you. And number 1 of my favorite baits this year, I caught 4 fish over 5 pounds on this thing. You need some slop to throw it in, but it's nothing funner than catching huge fish on a frog. The Terminator walking frog got it done for me. I caught some on the popping frog too, but never as big. The walking frog's a little bit bigger. And I had a couple of ponds that had some thick grass in it, some duckweed in one pond, and another pond some hydrilla type weed. And that's what you need to throw a frog in. And for some reason, this thing right here gets giants to bite it. I don't know why, but I mean, the frog is known as a big fish catching bait. You got, if you haven't caught fish on a frog, you've got to try it. Like these things, you just catch the biggest fish of the year, and it's becoming probably my favorite bait of all time now. I'm getting where I really love to throw a frog. You want to throw it on a heavy action rod with a high speed reel and at least 50-pound braid. I mean, you can probably get away with 40 in a lot of places, but I mean, you need, most people throw 65. You won't be able to get them out of thick stuff. And I just haven't had much luck with it at the lake yet, throwing around docks and stuff. I can't really catch a fish, but ponds with thick stuff and a few lakes that I want to try that have the thick grass in it, these frogs catch giants. You can see from my videos, I mean, usually when I catch a fish on this, it's a giant. I caught a few small fish on this, but it missed a lot of fish on it too. But the big ones, when they eat it and they want to commit, you'll hook them because they'll get the whole thing in their mouth. The little guys will knock it out of the water and stuff, but I caught some giants on it. And thanks for watching, guys. Go ahead and subscribe if you're not subscribed, and thanks for everybody that has subscribed. Channel's growing. 2019, we got big things coming. We actually got, next video is probably going to be a New Year's Day tournament. We got, as long as the weather permits, no snow or anything, we should have the New Year's Day tournament at Lake Norman. So hopefully I can finally catch some fish on that one. So stay tuned for that. And hopefully this year we'll catch some bigger fish. Hopefully we can catch some big ones on a frog. Hopefully this year will be even better in 2018. We'll win some tournaments. We're going to do a lot more tournament fishing this year. We got the Big Bass Tour tournament in April. I'll be doing that too, so stay tuned for that. We got a lot planned for 2019, so see you on the next video.